The benefit of diversified and inclusive representation in video games. Gender representation in video games isn't just a social issue, it directly affects the success of games. Improving this will expand audiences, lead to commercial success, and is an integral part of the growth of the games industry and culture. Firstly, diverse and accurate characters reach larger player demographics and increases the overall market size and financial viability of games. There's been a gradual but notable increase in the demand for character diversity in stories in recent years, and is clearly shown in the gaming world, with 92% of people considering that diverse characters are at least moderately important. The reason that is that players feel more engaged and interested, relating to their characters, fostering empathy and challenging stereotypes. These trends are resulting in a growing market, primarily to women. Of all Australian players, 51% are female and 48 are male, with nearly 0.5% reporting non-binary. The first time in this research series that females have accounted for half of the video game player population. This correlates with an increase in the number of female and diverse leads in relationships in recent years, in major titles like The Last of Us Part 2, Baldur's Gate 3, and Life is Strange. These games open to a greater demographic of individuals and communities that provide diversity in video games and is a successful and important part of game development. By increasing the possible audiences that games reach, the financial viability and commercial success of the games is also improved. Contrarily, games that have failed with inaccurate representations have been hit with steep criticism. For example, Resident Evil 5. Newsweek journalist Ngai Kroll was interviewed by MTV in April 2008 to give his thoughts, and he said that poor implementation and no positive black representation on Capcom's part conjured harmful stereotypes comparable to colonial tropes. This is something game studios must avoid to have any success. Player representation also affects players' immersion in games. When players interact with personal reflections and personalizations and character development, especially that of LGBTQIA+ identities, their engagement and retention increases dramatically. Research shows that there is a positive relationship between character identification and flow in video games. And this is a key criteria for successful games and player retention. This is apparent again in The Last of Us Part 2, in which the main protagonist Ellie is lesbian and the character of Lev is transgender. Whether from avatar customization or inclusive interactable characters, you can see that inclusivity helps players feel immersed. If done right, it can result in an increase in audience loyalty and a positive community reaction, and this is again integral to game sales and long-term success. Next, progressive and inclusive character design has the power to change society's values. It also has the power to create healthy communities, improve the perception of the game industry. Historically, games have failed at this, often over-sexualizing their female characters such as Bayonetta, which can increase sexism and aggression towards women and women's self-objectification. Misrepresentation is discriminatory, and it means games can fall behind other media if they don't represent properly. Games must provide accurate representation and player identities to create more realistic representations of society if they wish to improve the often controversial view in the gaming world, but also improve the financial viability of games. Some believe the prioritization and excessive emphasis of gender representation often feels forced and politically driven, potentially taking away from the core focus on the actual game, the characters, and the gameplay. One example regarding the character design is the backlash surrounding Tomb Raider remakes, where new designs of Lara Croft were considered to be altered to fit modern political ideologies, rather than adhering to the character's traditional design. And this led to some heated debates between developers and gamers. Whilst this can be true for the games that do this poorly, when representation is well integrated and natural, players actually respond positively. Games like The Sims that have added inclusivity in relationships have actually enhanced players' freedom and enjoyment. Clearly, it's in the execution of the game that ultimately improves the game with authentic engagement and immersion. Ultimately, gender representation directly impacts the games industry in revenue growth, audience growth, and brand public perception. Markets continue to grow and become more diverse, meaning inclusive representation directly allows companies to reach new demographics. In the end, gender representation plays a major role in improving public perceptions, ethical communities, and the long-term sustainability of both the industry and companies. As the industry develops, getting this right will only become more important. Thank you.